Elite Facts presents
12 amazing facts about the Beatles.
12.
Their band name. Before becoming the musical juggernaut that took the world by storm in the 1960s, the band changed its name many times before they all decided on the Beatles. One name most people commonly know is the Quarrymen. However, other considered names included Johnny and the Moondogs, the Rainbows, and the British Everly Brothers. It's a good thing they stuck with the Beatles, or else they may not have seen the same success that they did. Although Rainbow ended up becoming a band that would skyrocket Ronnie James Dio's career, so who knows, maybe it could have worked.
11.
Writing for their rivals. Here's something you may not have known. Both John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote the very first hit single for their first major competitors, the Rolling Stones. I Wanna Be Your Man was released in 1963, peaking at number 12 on the British charts. Even though the song was a hit, it certainly didn't reach as high on the charts as some of the singles that the Beatles released. Funny enough, John Lennon jokingly stated in an interview that, quote, "We weren't going to give them anything great, right?" Hey, could you blame him?
10.
The name's origin. So we've already covered some of the history behind the band's name, but no one is 100% certain about where the name actually originated from. It seems a bit random considering their previous band names, such as the Rainbows and Johnny and the Moondogs, right? Well, it's been theorized by fans that John Lennon liked the name The Crickets, Buddy Holly's band. Another source suggests that the main influence was the Beatles, the name of the rival gang in Marlon Brando's movie The Wild One. According to this source, Lennon changed the spelling to Beatles with an A in order to reflect beat music and the Beat Generation.
9.
The Beatles owned a freaking island. So just how popular were the Beatles? Well, it's pretty common knowledge how popular they were, but did you know that they were so popular that they were able to afford a whole freaking island? In 1967, the Beatles were knee-deep in the middle of their substance abuse binge that consisted of both acid and weed, so naturally they decided it would be a great idea to buy their own island. Hey, why not? They're the Beatles. They can do whatever they want. They bought a beautiful private island in Greece, a la Onassis, with the hopes of living there together, away from screaming fans. Now, this is something you can understand considering how the band would get bombarded by mobs of fans whenever they set foot out in public. Unfortunately, when the band broke up, they inevitably sold the island too. What a shame.
8.
Music helps autistic children. Amazingly, some scientists have suggested that several songs by the Beatles may help children with autism and other disabilities. Research shows that specific songs such as Here Comes the Sun, Octopus's Garden, Yellow Submarine, Hello Goodbye, Blackbird, and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds have been shown to have a positive impact on them and their behavior. It must be said that John Lennon was dyslexic and legally blind, and during his youth he was thought to have autism himself, so this may have played a part in the writing of their music.
7.
Abbey Road's original title. Abbey Road is one of the most recognizable albums in the world. Not only was it packed with many hits from the Beatles, but it's also one of the most memorable album covers of all time. That being said, we almost didn't get this version of the album as both the title and cover art were almost drastically different. The band originally wanted to call Abbey Road Everest, but they eventually changed their minds when the record company suggested that the band visit the Himalayas to shoot the cover there. Because of this, they decided to stick with the name of the street the recording studio was on.
6.
Hey Jude. Hey Jude is, without a doubt, one of the Beatles' most famous songs. Then again, you can pretty much say that about almost any song they ever put out. This fact is pretty well known, but if you listen closely to the original studio version of Hey Jude, you can hear Paul clearly saying, "Oh fucking hell," after he made a mistake while recording the song.
5.
Sgt. Pepper and the Lonely Hearts Club. Here's another commonly known fact. The cover for their 8th studio album, Sgt. Pepper and the Lonely Hearts Club, which was released in 1967, contains over 70 people, and if you look really closely, you can see that there are many familiar faces, such as Aleister Crowley, Mae West, Carl Jung, Edgar Allan Poe, Bob Dylan, Stuart Sutcliffe, Aldo Huxley, Marilyn Monroe, Laurel and Hardy, Karl Marx, Oscar Wilde, Lewis Carroll, Albert Einstein, Marlene Dietrich, and Diana Dors, just to name a few.
4.
By the time the Revolver album was ready for release in 1966, 3 of its tracks had already appeared on the 1966 American album Yesterday and Today, so the North American edition contained only 11 titles. The version released elsewhere had the complete album.
3,
As of 2016, the Beatles still hold the record for the most #1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, with a massive 20 hits on the charts. Elvis Presley and Mariah Carey share the second spot, with 18 #1 songs each. The Beatles also still hold the record for the most #1 albums on both the US and UK album charts.
2,
Did you know we almost had a Lord of the Rings film that starred the Beatles? Well, as it turns out, the Beatles were huge fans of J.R.R. Tolkien's work, and they wanted to star in a film version of The Lord of the Rings. With Peter Jackson not even on the film scene at this point, it makes you wonder who they would have wanted to direct the film. Well, as it turns out, they were also big fans of Stanley Kubrick, and they wanted him to direct the film. In a way, you can kind of see how they loved J.R.R. Tolkien and Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick especially, as some of their music videos have a similar visual aesthetic to Kubrick's Clockwork Orange. And that's it. We'd hate to see a Beatles song that includes subject matter from that film.
1,
In 1970, it came as a shock to everyone that the Beatles decided to break up without giving any explanation as to why. They just mutually decided to do so. Nobody can be 100% sure why the Beatles broke up. What we know for a fact, however, is that when Paul McCartney was asked why the band broke up, he claimed, quote, "personal differences, business differences, musical differences, but most of all because I have a better time with my family." It must be said, however, that the closest the band ever came to reuniting after their breakup came at Eric Clapton's wedding when he married Pattie Boyd in 1979. George Harrison, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr all played together, but unfortunately, John Lennon didn't attend.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.